Hello, I'm George Durbin. I belong to the AFCA. I've been a member of the club for about 5 years. I got the hat and the apron to prove it. And anyway, this is a little demonstration on silver soldering. Silver soldering is very easy, straightforward. You can repair cages, steel cages, Emerson Junior cages, and these Westinghouse and GE brass cages. The methods for silver soldering is the same amongst all the cages, so it doesn't matter if it's brass, steel, copper. It don't matter. You clean the area you're going to silver solder with sandpaper. You put flux on it, and then you use silver wire to solder the joint, and then you sand and clean up, and you save your cage for another for your fan, and it's a lot of fun to do. The silver that we use is 45% silver. I recommend at least 45%. You can probably use 40 if you can find it. 45 is the common. Comes in 1, 2, and 4 ounce, I believe, is the sizes you can get it in like this. And it's real handy to use, and you use just a small little bit to repair joints and solder them together. Now, before we start talking about that, I want to show the equipment that I'm using to silver solder with. The first thing you have to get is an acetylene tank. Back in the day, this was called an MC tank. Back in the day, motorcycle headlights were powered by acetylene, and the MC stood for motorcycle. You have to buy you a set of gauges, and you have to buy you a hose with a handle set to accept a number 3 or number 5 turbo torch tip. Anyway, they're easy to operate, they're quick connect, and this thing really works nice. The regulator is regulated right here for the amount of pressure. I just set it from the start, and then I leave it there, and I never have to change it again. So anyway, that's what you want to get. This is a very simple setup. It works nicely. It's for nice quick repairs. They look good, and I've been doing it for 40 years or more, and it works really nice. I've done a lot of refrigeration work, soldering steel to copper, copper to copper, copper to aluminum. It can all be done with this setup. The nice thing about a turbo tip, you don't need oxygen. When you use the 2-tank system, it becomes very tricky if you use oxygen and acetylene, because that's very hot, and you will actually heat stuff up enough you'll actually punch through it and burn it and melt it and cause yourself a lot of problems. It can be done, but it's a little bit tricky. This is a lot more forgiving and works really nice with steel, brass cages. The kind of repairs you're going to be doing is on this little, I think this is a Dominion cage, and it's real common for these steel cages to, see, where's it at? It's real common for these steel cages to separate right here. The little solder joint they did at the welding joint they did at the factory, it just came loose right there. We're going to fix that, and then that will make this a good cage. It'll be operational. This cage here I already worked on, and I did a video of it, but there was no sound, so I'm making it up here. But on this cage right here, this here was broken off. The support for the fan, it was broken off, and I just cleaned the area real well, and then put flux on it, and then used this silver, and we soldered that back together. Also on this same cage, this is a junior cage. On this same cage, it had a broken joint right here, and a broken joint right here. And as you can see, I've already cleaned and soldered, and we just saved ourselves a nice little junior cage. We won't have to go buy one or pay to have it fixed or anything like that. It works really nice. And so anyway, that's done. The other repair I did that I recorded and the sound didn't come out is this Emerson motor. This is the back half, and this stem right here goes down into the body of the to the base. And what happened was it broke loose on the inside here from an earlier repair, and so the stem was loose. So this thing, when it was oscillating, wobbled all over the place. Well, what we did was we just sanded this down right here and put a bead of silver around there. Now the stem is tight and in place, and when you set it down there and it oscillates now, it will no longer wobble. So that's pretty cool. That's a nice repair. For this repair, we had to use the number 5 tip. There was a lot of mass of steel, so it takes a lot of heat, and you want to heat it as quickly as you can, just where you can make this area, make the silver flow on this area. That's the key. For 95% of your cage work that you're going to be doing, though, you'll be using this number 3 tip. This number 3 tip is a nice small area, concentrated heat. It gets very hot, not as hot as oxygen acetylene. This is called a turbo tip, and it gets this extra heat from sucking in air through here, through this Venturi is what it's called. And so it makes it a little bit hotter. It's hotter than MAP gas, LP gas, and stuff like that. But it's very forgiving. It works really nice. So these two here has already been repaired. We're also going to get into this Westinghouse here. Westinghouse has some common problems. These wires here are very touchy, and they get banged around a little bit, they break off. Westinghouse wires are, when they're first put in there, they are put through they are threaded, they are put through the hole, and then they are peened over. And as you can see, this one here broke off. So in order to save this wire, I like to use original wire. What we're going to do is we're going to knock this little nipple out of here, just knock it out with a punch. Then we're going to use a little drill to put a little convex in here, a little chamfer is what it's actually called. And then I'm going to sharpen the point on this where it broke off, and we're going to put it in there, and it'll sink in there just a little bit. We're going to silver solder that and dam up all around it, and then that'll make a very strong repair right there. It works really nice. I've repaired probably 15-20 of these cages using that method. The nice thing about this is it keeps this distance here, the width, the same, even though it's missing part of it. But when you just chamfer it in there a little bit, it only goes in there about 1/16 of an inch. It keeps the distance the same. It keeps the width the same, so it looks natural. This here also has another issue. It is totally missing one of its S wires, and I'll cut one, we'll stick it in there, solder it up. But that one there, we will actually run it through, and since we have to make the whole wire and peen the back side of it, there'll be no silver involved at all in that. But I'm just going to show the repair right now of this. That's all I'm going to show. Okay, the next cage in line will be this brass cage, drop ring cage for General Electric, 12-inch fan. If you notice right here, the coupler has broken, and it come apart, and it went. So I don't know what happened here. It looks like it was sanded off or something. It's a real strange repair that had been done on it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to sand these edges here, sand the cup out. I'm going to put that together, and we're going to solder it just like that, and that's the way it's going to be. That's going to be the fix. I'm not doing anything else with it. It won't be like this one up here on the top. It's just going to be a repair, and that's all I'm doing. Some guys will put a new coupler in there. I'm not going to do it. I'm just doing this to show how nice silver solder works. The last cage we're working on is another Westinghouse 16-inch cage. Very common problem with this too. These back rings are very brittle over time. They're very, very brittle, and these back rings are square and they break easy. And a common breakage is right here where the S wire goes into the back ring, and the back ring has broken in that spot right there. Well, somebody in the past used soft lead solder to try to fix that, and it just doesn't hold up. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean that lead off of there. We're going to put this just back together, and I'm going to silver solder that, and that will not come apart again. It'll break somewhere else, but it won't break right there. And that'll be the last repair for this demonstration. So anyway, you get the gist of things, and anytime you can save a cage, it saves you a lot of money. You don't have to send it off, wait for it to come back, somebody fixing it for you. You can do it yourself with a setup like this. And the initial cost is probably around $200, $250. I found this kit here with the gauge and this handle set. Did not have the turbo tips, but I got this at a auction for $50. So you can pick them up. You just got to keep on the lookout for them. But these things are available. The MC tanks to swap out the gas, they last a long time. I'm down to less than a quarter of a tank right now, but I'll have a new tank when I go to Fanfare. It costs about $20 to swap this tank out to have it refilled. You just take it in, they'll give you a new one, and you give them $20. I've paid as high as 23 and as low as 18. I don't know if it's market price or however it is. That's how it's done. So another tool you need is, I got these little block sanders. and they're got spongy, and they're really nice for working on cages. It just brightens them right up and cleans things. You can solder stuff right up. My favorite stuff to use is emery cloth. I bought this at a garage sale for about $5. Got all those rolls of emery cloth. That's 280 grit. It really, just as long as it's pretty fine grit, it works really nice. There's 180 grit, and I'll use them all along. But you want to use emery cloth. That's the kind of sandpaper you want to use. And you can take a wide piece of it, use it in strips like this. It's real handy. And the idea of silver soldering is you want to concentrate a small area to do the repair. You want to vary the least amount of silver that you can use to repair that is what you want to use. So you want to sand it and just put the flux in that small area and silver solder it. And to use the right amount of silver generally indicates if this right here, for example, is 3/16, you want to use it 3/16 and a half again, so it'll be 5/16 roughly, is all the amount of silver you need to solder that together. So it's very thrifty. It lasts a long time, and I've repaired. I've been 2 years on this roll repairing cages, and it's working just fine. The last thing, another thing here is I like using rat tail files on these cages when they come apart. Let me find that right there. All you got to do is bend that down and put this file in here and go back and forth on it where the weld come apart and shine that area up. And then on the back side on this ring right here, you sand it off too with this rat tail file. Then that's a real small area. You add a little bit of flux, and you can use Q-tips. There's a brush in here, but Q-tips are real nice to use. It really makes it a small area to solder. Then you just get out there, heat it up with your torch. When it turns red, you can hit it with the silver. It just takes just a dab, and that cage will be just like brand new again. And for the safety aspect of it, you want to keep a bowl of water around. You want cloth in that water, and as soon as that heat comes off, and I'll show it in the video, as soon as you get done heating, it's going to be cherry red, and you don't want to get it burnt. So I'll take and just wipe it on there, and it'll sizzle and all take off, but it'll cool it right now, and you can immediately inspect your joints to see if it's going to be any good. And so that's about it for the beginning of this demonstration. Excuse me. The idea is to save the old cages, and it really takes a lot of expense away from doing restorations. And you know, these old junior cages, they're pretty tough as a rule, but they do have some issues with how they break, as does everything. So anyway, thank you very much. That's the introduction, and now I'm just going to go in and show you how I silver solder. It's pretty simple, straightforward, not very hard to do. If it was real hard to do, I couldn't do it. So anyway, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the video.